Hey guys, what's going on? Jake here, and welcome back to the finale of Season 1 in the F124 Driver Career Mode with Haas. It could be our final race for Haas today, but we've already secured P5 in the Constructors, as you can see there. Not mathematically, but I doubt Aston Martin will get a 1-2 and we won't score. So I'm betting on us being safe, and in the Drivers we have a chance of overtaking Lando Norris with today's sprint weekend. But there is also the chance that we fall behind Sergio Perez or... well, actually, technically, we can't fall behind Fernando Alonso. We can only go level. So the furthest we can drop to is about 7th. So we've had a very, very good season. And I know the AI has been too low for most of the season. We've had it on 105. We've had it on like 103, 101. It should have been on 105 the whole season. But this was a learning season, really. And next season we'll be on 105 the whole thing, maybe even 108, considering how quick we have been on this game so far. And if we're still quick at every track next season, it may go up again. Maybe even for qualifying we go like 108, but you know, track to track I'm very different, so I think 105 is probably the sweet spot for at least the first half of the season. But we were still on 103 here and 4-5 temps quicker than everyone else. Brilliant. So into sprint qualifying 2 we go, taking nicely the middle sector, and then we head into the final sector, which is usually my strongest sector. The middle sector is this one here, and you know, normally because it's not my strongest sector we wouldn't go purple, and we actually did on this lap, just showing that, you know, that I'm probably a bit too quick compared to my AI level currently. And then we take the final sector as aggressive as always, way quicker than the AI are in the final sector. And around the final corner, we go a little bit wide at the final corner, but we can cut the corner off a bit more and get a better exit. And up to the line, it's obviously going to be P1 again, and a 121.9, and that is quickest by 6 tenths over Max Verstappen. So, yeah, good. So remember 121.9, that's the lap we set. This was our one and only sprint Q3 lap. I'm pretty much expecting to start on pole for the sprint now because for some reason I'm really quick around Qatar. I mean, I'll tell you why I'm really quick around Qatar. It's because corner cutting gains you like half temps everywhere, so even like it's very easy to corner cut without invalidating and getting warnings, especially on normal. So it's very easy to do it. Like in qualifying, it's not as easy. In the race, if you're racing on a high eye level, like, you know, qualifying, it's, you know, you don't even need to because you don't slide. But in the race, you can slide, you have tyre wear, so you kind of have to be competitive. So we set a 121.9 on the mediums in sprint Q2. Obviously, we get first, and we set a 121.3. 5 temps clear of Norris, which is, hunky-dory. So for the actual sprint race, we're going to be putting up to 105. Finally, god damn. So we're going to see how the sprint goes, and so my teammate's starting P15, and I am starting on pole position for this finale. It's a sprint weekend. I actually might end on Qatar next season as well, but you'll see the calendar next season. I might end on Qatar because it's quite nice to end at a sprint race, and I don't like Abu Dhabi, and I'm not really the biggest fan of tracks like Qatar and, you know, stuff like that. I might add Singapore next season, or I might add Portimao. I like both of those tracks, and I'm probably going to get rid of Mexico because that was by far and away the worst race this season. Like, it was impossible to race that. It was horrible. We had pace, but it was just an awful experience in the race because of that straight. So here we are, back again into the sprint. I'm not even commentating the sprint properly. I'm really sorry. I should be in the groove. This is the final race of the season, guys. But coming to the end of lap 1 on the sprint, we did lose out to Charles Leclerc. Obviously, the starts aren't as good for the player this year. But now we've got Max Verstappen breathing down our neck. Leclerc does not have a slipstream ahead of him. But here comes Max Verstappen into turn 1 on lap 2 of the sprint. DRS is now enabled. We need to cut him off, and we do. Obviously, there again, you can see exceeding track limits gains you time. But coming through this final sector, taking it wonderfully, we are on an absolute flyer of a lap as Verstappen ended up fighting Norris off that exit on the end, at the start of this lap. And that has allowed us to break a second and set the fastest lap of the sprint so far. But here we come on Charles Leclerc into turn 1 to take the lead of the sprint, want to retake the lead of the sprint. And we are going around the outside, and we're able to cut off Charles Leclerc. And then into P4, into lap 4, we are about to go. And Leclerc has managed to stick with us throughout this lap. He stayed really close, and Norris has even closed up to him. So now we're back in that DRS train, me, Leclerc and Norris. Verstappen has fallen off, as has Alonso. Norris sets the fastest lap, no wonder he's caught back up to us. He is flying at the minute, is Lando in the McLaren. But now we've got these two incredible drivers to fight with, and us three are fighting at the front for the remainder of this sprint, it seems. As we are now back in the DRS of Leclerc, we are only 4 tenths behind. The gap between us is identical between myself to Leclerc and Leclerc to Norris, as Norris sets another fastest lap, and it looks like Perez is out of the sprint. But here we come on Charles Leclerc, going down the inside into turn 1, we bang tyres. Leclerc doesn't decide to return to the racing line, just straight lines it, we make contact, but only a little bit. And on lap 7, I can tell you, of the sprint, this is what the temperatures were looking like. The tyres were a little bit shaky, but it was manageable. But the tyre wear coming onto the final lap of the sprint wasn't the best, so mediums probably won't go that long in the actual race. But as we round the final sector of the Qatar sprint, it looks like we are about to be the victors today. As we come round the final corner, it's 6.5 tenths to Norris, and we are going to win the Qatar sprint, which is nice for us. And as obviously normally I would kind of just allow it and be like, oh yeah, I'll let you listen to all this, but it's just the sprint, so we're going to roll straight on into qualifying. And because the sprint, we had more pace than the cars, we just couldn't break DRS. If I broke DRS of them, I would have just drove off. So for qualifying, I want to make it as hard as possible in the race. We're going 110 AI. The max AI you can get on this game, we're going 110 AI in qualifying for the Qatar Grand Prix, which may mean that we cut the corners a little bit more, but this is the hardest difficulty on the game. And I know a lot of content creators do 110 and they don't use overtake and stuff, but I'm not as good as them, obviously. So we have to use as much as we can in terms of ERS and in terms of corner cutting to try and be competitive on 110 AI. It's not really corner cutting, it's just exceeding track limits, but you know, obviously you guys may not be happy with that, but I am now racing on 110 but driving the exact same as before, just to kind of prove that maybe corner cutting's OP, but that's not the point. Here we are now, our first lap on 110 AI in qualifying in Q1 now for a full quali session as we come round the final corner on our first lap of the session. We always try to get through with 1 lap, but I'm expecting to need more than 1, especially in Q1, as up to the line we go, and we are 3 tenths off Leclerc, but that is not bad. On 110 AI, that is not bad. We get P10 in the Haas, beating Lando Norris, and only 4 tenths off pole position. 110 AI, Jesus. But yeah, here we are, once again, in Q2 now. We managed to get through that 1 lap in Q1. We're going to try do the same again in Q2, as we come round now towards the final sector, my strongest sector of the circuit. Not setting purple sectors in the middle sector anymore, are we? Here we come through this final sector, the fast right-handers, and then an even faster left-hander, which is where I normally make up most of my time compared to the AI. Normally take it almost flat, and we do just about, but it's not the greatest turn of all time. And into the final corner we go. We need a good final corner. Here we are, go a little bit wide, but up to the line we come. It's going to be a 121.4, which means that we are a tenth off Charles Leclerc. And by the end of the session, we are at heavy risk of going out, so we've got to go again on a fresh set of softs, meaning for the first time in a while, we use 2 sets of softs to get through, or to try and get through Q2. But to get through, we're going to have to improve first of all. But here we come into turn 1. We take that nicely. We're going to try not to exceed track limits on this lap as well, but just drive it nicer. Here we come. A little bit wide there, but not enough to really say I've exceeded. But my first sector is normally very good. I know there's a little bit of time in these next couple of corners. We take that really nicely, and that as well. Almost flat there, and we get the car rotated 2 tenths up. Very nice. And by the time we get to the end of the lap, we have managed to keep that 2 tenths the whole way through. Now up to 2.5 tenths as we now come towards the final sector, where I know if we push this car completely, there is at least another tenth in this final sector. Keeping it tight to the racing line this time. Boom, already a tenth. Bang, 3 tenths up into this corner. Let's full send it, lads. Bang, we cut a little bit there, but we gain a tenth through that turn by doing that tiny little cut. And then into the final corner. We had a poor final corner last time, but we have a better one this time. 4.5 tenths up to the line. We were P10, but we should be through now. And it is going to be on 110 AI, P3, only a tenth off pole, the pole man Oscar Piastri. And then in Q3, obviously, we didn't have 2 sets of fresh tyres, which we normally would do for Q3, getting through on 1 lap. So we had to use a worn set of tyres there, as you can see, 20%. And without that slide in the final corner, we probably would be 2 tenths quicker, which would mean a similar lap time to what we set in Q1. But here we are for the final lap in qualifying at Qatar on 110 AI. Here we go. So yes, guys, up to the line we come, proving that we were on 110 AI, and we qualify on the max AI in P4. And that lap, as you can see, there had the odd minor corner cut. Maybe I gained a tenth or two in that whole lap from corner cutting, but in the end, we end up getting P4, only technically half a tenth off the one who wasn't the broken Max Verstappen. So those 2 tenths would have probably put me P6. Which isn't too bad anyways on 110, but for the race we're going to put it on 105 because the AI are normally quicker than me in the race because I'm not very consistent. But this year, and I was working on it at the end of the last game, consistency is something I'm getting much better on, especially on a hard tyre. On the hard tyres, I am so consistent, hardly using flashbacks, hardly making mistakes, and if I do make mistakes, I can make up for it in the rest of the lap. Using ERS to the perfect amount, hot lap and saving every lap to just maximise lap times. We're cooking on this game, and we're going to try to do it again here in Qatar. Easy, medium to hard strategy. But for this race, we are starting on the front row because of grid penalties. And it's going to be myself and Fernando Alonso. Alonso with the chance to overtake me in the championship if I were to have a poor start and maybe fall down the grid and struggle to get back through. But it's going to be a very, very interesting Grand Prix. So 5 lights for the Qatar Grand Prix for the finale of Season 1. Myself versus Fernando Alonso on the front row, and it is lights out. And away we go. We react a little bit slower than Leclerc behind us, and we actually get quite a poor start. Alonso gets an average start, but here goes Charles Leclerc, and we're being swarmed now by Hamilton and Piastri. We've just got to kind of put ourselves in the middle. We're going to try hang around the outside and keep the positions from everyone else. We collide with Hamilton, but luckily no damage. But we are in P3. We haven't lost out too many positions. That was a poor start, but luckily we haven't lost too much. But it's going to be by the end of lap 2, coming on to lap 3, we are still with these two. And now there's potentially a chance to get ourselves back into P2, maybe even P1. But here goes Charles Leclerc, the quickest man other than me on track right now, going around the outside of Alonso, cleanly getting himself through into turn 1. We're going to dive ourselves down the inside of Alonso to follow Leclerc through. We know we have more pace than Fernando. We know we need to stick with Leclerc and not let him run away. And that is exactly what we're doing. By the end of that lap, we are now still within the DRS of Leclerc. Alonso is still there. We're still in this train at the front with ourselves, Piastri and Hamilton and Alonso and Leclerc, as Leclerc sets another fastest lap of the Grand Prix. We were 2 tenths slower, but it's not going to help him because the straight line, slipstream and ERS is so overpowered as we make contact with Leclerc into turn 1. He's going to keep the position, but I feel as if he could have turned in a little bit more there, maybe left me a little bit more room, but no damage done. I'm not going to hold it against him, and we're going to move on and just try re-overtake him now. We take that very nicely. No corner cuts needed for that. And that was beautiful. And now if we can get a good run out the final corner, we could potentially overtake Leclerc, but we get a poor run out the final corner, then Alonso might actually close up on us. So we've got to use a bit of overtake, which is going to force us into a move into turn 1 potentially on Charles Leclerc. Lap 5 of 29 of the Grand Prix. We're going to switch from the right to the left to go around the outside of Charles Leclerc. This time there is no contact. We are going to hang around the outside of the Ferrari driver and get ourselves up into the lead of the Qatar Grand Prix. Absolutely beautiful stuff. But on lap 6, it's going to be our turn to defend again. Leclerc is not able to drop Piastri there. I mean, it might have been. If maybe he was a tenth quicker, he would have got away from Piastri and we would have dropped him. But it doesn't seem to be the case, as here comes Charles Leclerc, re-overtaking us easily on the straight. We don't have the straight line speed to match these guys, especially with the setup we're running at this circuit. And that is going to be all she wrote. But we're not going to let Leclerc get away too much. We're going to try stick with him now through this fast final sector, because we have a slide, which may be an indicator that, you know, the tyres are overheating and potentially going off. And when we finally get onto the straight, a couple of little slides, as you can see, we're struggling a little bit with temperature, and the tyre wear isn't exactly the greatest. So when it comes to lap 11, about to be on lap 12, I want to make this overtake on Leclerc and be the leader when I come into box, which I think we're going to do on the end of lap 12 and do 16 laps on the hards. Maybe 17 it is, actually. But I'm pretty happy with having done 12 laps on these mediums. But here we come now to kind of prove that we still have the pace at the end of the stint, as we're going to re-overtake Charles Leclerc, going again from right to the left, hanging it again around the outside of Leclerc, but this time he fights it even less than the time before with the less grip. And then by the end of that lap, it's going to be time for us to box and try and undercut the AI as much as possible. In we come. Here we are, we're going to box for the hards. I don't know whereabouts we're going to come out. I think we're going to come out around about behind our teammates, maybe teammate who is stuck behind some Visa Cash Apps at the minute, and a Alpine. No, that's a Williams. Or we may even come out behind the Kick Saubers. But it looks like, yep, as our teammate Ricciardo and Albon passes us, it looks like we're going to come out with one of the Saubers. It's not going to be Joe. We're going to come out just behind Valtteri Bottas. So, time to get some work done. And just coming out of the pits, we've now got to try and make a move on Bottas as quick as possible, but our tyres are really cold, so we're going to have to look for an opportune spot to do so. Here we come now on Charles Leclerc. On Bottas. We're being told that we need to get this position for our race, so that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to go for it as soon as possible. We get really close to Bottas on the fresh tyres into that left-hander, and now we are really close to Fernando. There could be a potential for an overtake nearby, but we are closing up right behind Fernando. We're almost pushing him through the corner. I keep saying random drivers. It's Bottas, mate. And here we come on Bottas. There's a long left-hander coming, so we're going to send it down the inside. Bottas jumps out of the way, knowing that we're on the quicker tyres. There's no point fighting me for grip, and there's no point ending both of our races. He lets us through. A bit of an aggressive move when it needed to be done. And now we are chasing after his teammate Zhou Guanyu, as people are now in the box, including my teammate. And there is also going to be one of the front runners in Fernando Alonso, who's pitting. Now, where is Fernando Alonso going to come out? 3 seconds behind me, so we have already done an effective undercut on Fernando Alonso. And here we come on Zhou Guanyu, and we send it from a far way back. He was literally about to box anyway, but I sent it on him anyway. I don't know why, but yeah, we sent it on him anyway. Alonso managed to gain 4 tenths on that lap, mainly because I was stuck behind Zhou. But yeah, I mean, we come out in the lead, it looks like it's going to be, of this Grand Prix. Hamilton 1.5 seconds behind, battling potentially with Leclerc, but we set a purple first sector there. And here we come. The cars yet to box are Russell, Sainz, and it looks like it's going to be Verstappen and Norris, I think. Maybe Piastri, who are the other two who haven't boxed yet. And it looks like now the Red Bull and the McLaren are both boxing, as are the Mercedes and the Ferrari. But we are currently on a pretty good lap so far on these hard tyres, looking for potentially an extra point for the fastest lap. Can we achieve that? Can we get that fastest lap point? Not really even using much ERS. Up to the line, we get it for now. But we are now going to see where we're going to come out relative to everyone else. We take the lead, but by how much? It's going to be Leclerc in P2, and it's only 1.9 seconds. But if the cars behind us battle, there is a chance. And on lap 22, they do exactly that. And it looks like with 7 laps to go, the gap is only 3.4. And this could mean we could win another race in our F1 career. This would be our 3rd win of the season after claiming our 2nd pole of the season earlier on in the sprint. This could be an absolutely fantastic race for us. Hamilton is slow. Oh, and there's a safety car. Oh, and there's a safety car. We're going to have to box. We're going to have to box. And let me talk you through it, right? I wanted to box because I was thinking to myself, if I box here, if I don't box here, they've got me in a straight line. I won't be able to defend from them in a straight line. I need to have the corner speed. So I came in and I was like, oh, we've got some used mediums. They must be from sprint quali. Like, they must have like 5-6% wear. They had 50% wear. They were the mediums I took off. So you might be thinking, oh, you've bottled the strategy. No. We're not having that, lads. Well, we're not having that. let's get the softs on. So I was thinking, okay, the softs must just be from a quali lap. And luckily, the softs that we're about to put on, they're not fresh at all. They've done a scrub, they've done an in-lap and out-lap and a quick lap, but they're only 12% worn on the front left, and that's going to be about 15% by the time the safety car comes in. But we are now in P9, and to try and win this race, we've got 4 laps to try and overtake 9 or 8 cars. And we don't have straight line speed, as we get a way better exit than Sainz, but we can't overtake him because he just pulls away on the straights. But we are going to eventually try send it on sides. We're going to try go around the outside, but Sainz just kind of straight lines the brake zone. I mean, I don't know whose fault that is really, but we're going to force our way through on Sainz. We make contact, not enough to cause damage, but clearly I'm not very happy there with that defensive effort by Sainz, clearly thinking that I was hard done by. But we are immediately catching back up to the pack. That 1 second may have cost me a bit much, but here we come on the straight. DRS now enabled back again in the race. Here we are. We're going to have to send it on Sergio Perez, I believe. But into turn 1, we do exactly that. Sending it down the inside of Sergio Perez. He gets out of the way. He can't really defend me. And now we can chase after the McLaren of Lando Norris. And on that lap, through this slow left-hander, we're going to go around the outside of Lando Norris. The inside is the more orthodox dive bomb there. But we dive around the outside, get the better exit. And we're going to be able to, on this corner here, with a much better grip and much better tyres, we're going to be able to make that move happen. And then on the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix, we're going to go down the inside again in that same corner on Alonso. But final lap, we are nowhere near the podium positions. We need to overtake 4 drivers to win, at least 2 to try and reclaim the podium we so deserve. But to do so, we have to overtake Verstappen, Piastri, and then either Leclerc or Hamilton, I think. So here we are, into turn 1. Can we get a good run on Verstappen? Not quite, but we might have to just send it at some point. We're looking for an opportune place to make the overtake happen on Max Verstappen, the current world champion, the man who has just secured his 4th world championship. Can we do it? Final lap of the Qatar Grand Prix. This podium this win, maybe even, it probably isn't going to be the win now, but this podium would cap off an absolutely fantastic season for us as we go down the inside of Max Verstappen. And now we've got to work on Piastri. If we want this podium, we've got to make the move somewhere. And later on in that lap, it's going to be in the final corner, I think. There's nowhere else we can make this move, and we're coming through our best sector of the Grand Prix, and here we come, using all of the track. Basically, we were on 2 warnings. If it happened and we got the penalty, we would lose so many positions, but we risk it, and now we're right behind Piastri. We're going to send it into the final corner, leaving nothing to chance, getting the better exit, and securing P3 in the final race of the season to end our Haas career, potentially.
From you. The whole team is really proud of you, so thank you for a fantastic effort. See you back in the pit lane.
Here come our winners now, a thrilling race and a tremendous effort by Ferrari. Their history is well known, so it's no surprise to fans the world over to see them come out on top once again.
So yes, guys, to end off our season with Haas, we have gone from like 65 rated to 79 with those incredible stats. And yeah, as you're about to see, we destroyed our contract target, having one of the best rookie seasons in F1. And now there is a potential, if you read that Haas are going to lose us because Aston Martin are sniffing around. But let's look at the overall standings in the constructors. As I said, P5 was secured, and we got eventually exactly 200 points, which is quite a nice result. 40 points behind Mercedes, 38 ahead of Aston Martin. And then in the drivers, we managed to overtake Lando Norris by 1 point in that final race. And overall, that is going to mean that we get P4 in the Drivers' Championship. Nowhere near the top 2, but a very, very strong effort. So, guys, in the next episode, we will decide, are we going to stay with Haas? Are we going to move to Aston Martin? And maybe there could even be some other teams sniffing around. So we did get screwed over by the safety car in that race. We would have easily won, but I will take a podium. I will take a podium. And you know what? To end off the season, it was a fun race. So you know what? I'll take it. Thank you for watching, guys. Look forward to the next episode.